Nos vamos sentando, por favor, que arrancamos ya. Sí. Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Bienvenidos de nuevo. Arrancamos esta última sesión de la tarde de la última jornada de Madrid Platform, el primer hub internacional de negocios entre Europa y América Latina. Han sido 3 días tremendamente intensos, de verdad. Yo ya voy dando la enhorabuena a la organización, me parece espectacular, las cifras lo avalan. Decía justo antes de este descanso que hemos tenido de un par de horas, en nuestro caso aquí desde Madrid, desde España, para almorzar, que el lunes estuvieron conectados 51 países. Ayer martes fueron 44. Vamos a ver a por cuántos vamos hoy. Yo creo que podemos establecer un nuevo récord en esta primera edición de Madrid Platform. Esperamos que sea así. Arrancamos esta sesión de tarde, como digo, también va a ser como nos gusta. Los eventos del futuro van a ser así, mixtos, con, por supuesto, ponentes presenciales, que además les tengo aquí en primera fila y enseguida les voy a dar paso y les voy a invitar a subir al escenario, y ponentes, protagonistas conectados online desde otros países. Al final, ese es el espíritu también un poco de Madrid Platform, ¿no? Conectar países, empresas más bien, empresas de diferentes países para, lo decía yo en la apertura, conducir juntos hacia la dinamización de la economía a nivel global. En este contexto tremendamente complicado que nos ha tocado a todos vivir. No me enrollo más, quiero dar la
So, without further ado, let me introduce you all to this International Forum for Digital Transformation. The coming roundtable is really interesting. The topic is absolutely very interesting. Elena is going to be with us. Open innovation for transformation, new models of collaboration. Open innovation in order to improve the performance of value chains, in order to have business opportunities for big companies. And since we are talking about open innovation, it is open to all. We are going to talk about venture capital and case studies of success, thanks to alliances with different entrepreneurs. So we are going to talk about different types of activities in different ecosystems. So, Sergio Peinado, Deputy Director for Digital Transformation and Data Analysis. Ignacio Tobar, Leader in Iberia. Elena Benavides, de LWIT, belonging to the Red Eléctrica Group. And I think we have the next speaker connected, Patricio Guitar, partner of Conecta Venture.
¿Cómo están? Buenas tardes a todos ahí.
Hello, everyone. Hello. It's great to see you on the screen and to listen to you. The connection seems to be very good. Thank you. We can also see on the screen Luis Fernando Google Verde from Brazil. Luis Fernando, how are you doing?
Hola, buenas tardes. Un gusto estar aquí con ustedes.
Yes, I'm all right. It's a pleasure to be with you. Hello. Hello. Let me give the floor to Francisco. And a round of applause, please. Thank you. Thank you for your invitation to Madrid Platform. It's a pleasure to be here with you. We have a great panel here to talk about open innovation in these unprecedented times we're going through right now. Let me begin with a brief introduction, and afterwards we will go to the session of questions and answers in order to establish a dialogue with you. The concept of open innovation is very interesting, in my opinion. In the year 2004, 2005, we started to talk about open innovation, about the future of competition. We started to talk about the concept of co-creation of value. At the time, it was very difficult to apply all these concepts and ideas into our organizations, but things have changed, and now open innovation plays a critical role in our society. As we all know, we need unique solutions and collaboration and participation by all stakeholders, including collaboration between public and private companies. That gives us a lot of strength, and I think that open innovation is a great mechanism, and I think it is the way forward. There are other things to consider. For example, traditional business models, as we all know, will not go on for a long time. There are several factors impacting on traditional models. Things are changing in companies. Technology is evolving very quickly, especially since the year 2008. And this is something we see in all panels in Madrid platform. In the value chains of all organizations, things are changing very quickly thanks to technology. Technology is a cross-cutting issue in all organizations nowadays. Another driver for change is consumers. Consumers want sustainable products, and then we have entrepreneurs that provoke great disruption in all sectors, making value proposals with very low costs and providing a better customer experience. And therefore, traditional companies have to rethink their models. And then we have the new generations who want more equitable societies, more equitable and more human societies. And therefore, we need a new concept of innovation. There is more value outside than inside the organizations, no matter how big the company is. Consumers tell us all the time, let me tell you about my experience with your product and with your service. I will be deciding if you are making a value-based proposal or not. So let me devise my own experience. And this is a big driver for change. And open innovation is very relevant in this case. And then things have changed in the last few years. We've been taught for many years that we have to be efficient when we use resources in order to be competitive. But now we are living in a new economy, and we see that we can create more and more resources, and we can have abundance of resources. And therefore, open innovation is a great vehicle for collective change in order to have a better normality, a better normal life, new normal. So now I think we should see specific cases of companies that are transforming themselves thanks to open innovation. Let me begin my round of questions to the panel. Let me begin by asking Elena. I have so many questions for the panelists. Their work is really interesting. And Elena, why has Red Eléctrica decided to begin to apply open innovation? What are the challenges you are facing in the field of energy, and how can open innovation help the development of a decarbonized era? Thank you, Patricio. Well, that was a big round of questions. I can repeat the questions afterwards if you like, no problem. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here, even though being here now is a challenge because it's time for a nap more than for work. Well, first question. Why has Red Eléctrica decided to launch a vehicle such as EWID? Any one of us can tell you that when companies make such decisions, In the end, they do so because they receive different signals from the market, signals that point in the direction of transformation. It's undeniable that society is changing right now, and we need more data, more information, more sustainability, more connectivity, and this affects any given economy, and in the case of Red Eléctrica, it affects energy and telecoms. We very often talk about having connectivity in any remote point or spot in any given geography, and therefore we need 5G, and now you can launch satellites at a very low price. And when you talk about energy transition or decarbonization, if we think about the year 2050, which is just about to come, all energy has to be renewable. That means that we have to do a lot of work. We have to know how to generate all these renewable energy. We have to keep in mind that there is self-supply, that consumers consume and use energy, but supply it as well. And therefore, we have to keep in mind that the market is telling us that there are disruptive changes in place and that we have to do things differently. But in our case, I think there were also other internal circumstances that led us to change. We have always thought about our group as Red Eléctrica Española, but we are part of a group. And we needed to do things gradually because we work in different sectors. Many of our work teams are engineers with a lot of technology, innovation, but it was technology and innovation for in-house purposes. And then we started to think about what to do with innovation. And therefore, we started to mix all these components and we devised a new strategy that created a new structure in order to respond to disruptive changes, use this new context in order to generate new business opportunities, and try to attract talent and people from other sectors that might be more disruptive than ours. Elena, you talked about putting everything in a cocktail mixer and mixing all the ingredients. But you were dealing with people with a lot of experience in a traditional business model, and everything changed. Not only the rules of the game itself changed. You started to work in the field of renewable energies, and consumers changed too. Well, it didn't happen overnight, but you need two things to happen. First of all, you need to have a high-level support. So the president of the company, the CEO, top executives have to be convinced about the need for change. And then another key factor is to be very humble. You have to recognize and acknowledge at all times that you cannot be the best in everything. You cannot know everything. There's one thing I really like a lot in our company. We often say that there are very many clever people in our company, but we are only 1,200 people. But outside of our company, there are many more people who are more clever. So you need to be humble and get advice. You need to build bridges in order to attract talent and in order to change our structures. Thank you very much, Elena. Afterwards, we can talk about decarbonization, if you like. Thank you. And now, Luis. He's at Sao Paulo.
Es el director, digamos, de innovación
He's the director of innovation at SICI, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. In terms of open innovation and sustainability, why has a leading company such as yours in Brazil decides to go for open innovation? Sustainability, how do you include sustainability in your processes? What challenges did you encounter? And what tangible results can you offer us?
Vale, Patricio, un gusto estar con vosotros acá desde Brasil.
It's a great to be here with you, connected from Brazil. I have a few slides. I'm sorry that I'm speaking half Portuguese, half Spanish, but I'll do my best to speak in Spanish. Can you please show my slides, please? Very nice color, by the way. Yes. Next one.
So this is our scenario right now in Brazil. I always see two main challenges in our construction sector. 16 million dwellings, houses that are absolutely inadequate, insufficient. They have a great deal of problems. Even before COVID, that was the fourth reason for being institutionalized in the health national system. So this is the sector which is in charge of 4% of all waste generated in the world. So, as you can imagine, we have considerable problems. We are really having a hard time to offer value, added value to our investors. This is something you probably have seen already. This is the second industry in the world. I think it is actually worse than the sector regarding fisheries. We are a reference all over the world. Next slide, please. So what we are witnessing in this industry all over the world, this mapping of 2017, we could see 250 startups in the whole sector for building, for real estate. Next slide. Same mapping. For 2018, 340 industries were present. Next slide. 500 startups for 2019 in the same sector. Next slide. 2020, 700. We should probably reach 800 in the next mapping activity. So you can see the rising activity of this sector. That's why we are prone to innovation in this sector. I would say we are the most innovative sector, and the experience of Telefónica that has been working here in Brazil has been paramount because we have together the foundation, sustainability, all the areas that have been working separately are going to be working together like cogs in the same machine. Now, this is our purpose. All employees, our effort would be to provide a home for all of you who desire to cooperate with us. For 2022, we are going to obtain the so-called B certification, which is something very seldom bestowed to any company. We are so far dealing with products, and we are starting to launch also supplying services, because companies do not only want products, but they also want services, and also the implementation of said services. Next slide. So that is the reason why we want to work from the inside outside, or from the outside inside. Next slide. So the axis from the outside to the inside. Next slide. We want to create a new program to launch and accelerate 5 startups and seed companies. Next. Some of the technologies of the startups. We are starting the 3rd cycle. We work with technologies along the whole chain of value. We're sorry, but we're losing the speaker. The sound is very poor. We created this company that works with all the needed technologies for all the lifespan of the different products and all the cycles, very different cycles. And we have to speak about the foundation that wants to add value to all the businesses. Thank you, Luis. We're going to go back with a deeper question. How to add value to technological company. What problems did you have as a leader? So, thank you for the presentation. I would like to now launch the following question to Ignacio. How did the pandemic work or impact on the digitization to improve the client experience? And how was it? Obviously, it was very different, the 2018 and 19 to 2021. Okay, thank you for the invitation. First of all, it's a brilliant platform, a pleasure to share the panel with my colleagues, and obviously it's a pleasure for you, those of you who are present here and those of you who are following the streaming. So we have been suffering, obviously, the impact of the pandemic. It has been very, very challenging. If you think about the client experience, we have to differentiate between the post-pandemic, what happened in March and April, when the company, what we did was help the country, help Spain, help Latin America. And more than innovation, it was more like providing some heart. Let's not forget that we didn't know what was going to happen. We had crews that were flying out to bring back Spanish citizens that were scattered all over the world, like in Colombia, for example. So that was a reference for us on how can you innovate, how can you be creative, sometimes not just with technology, but with your heart, with your hunch, and bringing health equipment from China, for example. I have a colleague from Iberia here present with me, and we're very proud of that. So we have found along the process that after the recovery and the process, there's another way. There's some requirements that are somewhat different. So if we look back to the journey, and you probably see it if you're planning your summer. First, where can I go that I'm authorized to go? Second, what requirements am I going to be requested, demanded from the host country? What happens if I get ill there, and am I going to be covered from a health point of view? We have tried to take all those points into account, considering innovation. I think what Elena said was very pertinent, the best in each field, and interaction between all of them. So we have a service, we work with a Spanish startup, and they have pivoted, they have really proven that it can be done. We help the country in real time, what kind of events could be done, depending on the destination. If you go to Colombia, well, you have to do something. If you go to another country, you have to do something else. They included an algorithm to do a sweep of all the webs all over the world to see what requirements there were all over the world. So that's what we included in our website in Iberia. And you get all the information really in real time. You want to go to Colombia, those are the requirements. If you go to another country, those are the requirements. So you're required to provide a negative PCR test, then we will offer that possibility with a great capillarity offered by Iberia. What else? Flexibility, obviously, new prices, new price structure, new marketing in the company regarding insurances, destination, full innovation to build products with insurers. If you don't have a health coverage, we will provide it, and instead of just buying a yearly product, you can do very specific contracts. And apart from security, we know that the cockpit is very safe. The air quality, people tend to say that the quality is equal to operating theater. The air flows are constantly renewed from the top to the bottom. So we have had to establish technologies like biometrics, face recognition to establish new security filters at the entry of the finger. And the person who provides a ticket is the one who is flying, and so you just don't need to provide any other document. So on board food, we just have now a bag which is secured under your seat. You pre-order that kind of food, and it's provided under seat 32C. for example. And that's what we want to take to the homes. You want to check your baggage, we can pick it up at home, and it goes straight right to your destination, your final destination, or your office, or your hotel. And lastly, very interesting, everybody speaks about the digital passport, this green document that Europe is thinking about, what interoperability is going to have with Latin America. We're very into that. We think that that is one of our priorities, and it's all about making life easier for the traveler. Firstly, because of an increased security, we want to bring about a more secure mobility, and there are ways to reach that point. And harmonization, well, that's a very political word to use, harmonization, but that's how it is. We want to harmonize with other countries. For example, we want to fly to the US. We use Verifly to check your documentation, or we work with IATA, which is the Association of the Airlines, to obtain certification of your passport, and it will be the lab that will provide the negative PCR and not yourself. You just have to, instead of providing documents, submitting documents at the entrance of the plane, you will be able to provide everything initially, and it will be checked automatically just with the reading with face recognition. How long will it take to reach that point? Well, normally you know, just hear about many projects that are not implemented, but I think this is added value that is very important for companies when you are trying to really make life easier, not only for your employees, but also for your travelers and for people who want to or need to provide many documents just to make their life easier. Sorry, I was maybe too fast and too long. No, it was very interesting, and I think it's very interesting how you integrated technology, entrepreneurship, and client experience, because when you work in partnership with other players of the ecosystem, you maybe lose sight of what your main purpose is. It technology or is it the customer? So let's move on to another question. Sergio, I was reading some articles where they spoke about the post-experience transformation of the business model, especially with small parcels, e-commerce, everything related to e-commerce and small parcels. And on the other hand, everything related to the customer experience. So I would like to ask you, Sergio, how are you managing that business model transition? Because there's a point in which the core of the business, is it profitable? Is it providing the necessary assets? Or, on the contrary, it's not providing the necessary cash flow, but it will come down the road. So what is the innovation that you require in that kind of innovation, and the quality proposal in the business model of the Spanish Post in the future? Well, thank you, Patricio. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Madrid Platform, for giving me this opportunity. It's a great honor for me to share this panel with such high-quality speakers, some of them friends of mine. I was about to intervene when they mentioned the case of Iberia. They transport passengers, but what we do in the Post, after all, is we take care of your parcels and letters. So we were declared essential service during the pandemic. Therefore, we had to work very hardly. I've been repeating that over a year. Hadn't it been for the 30,000 postmen and postwomen, the service wouldn't have been possible. So evidently, the pandemic has challenging things and positive things. As you mentioned, the post, Correos, we have at our back 300 years of history. We have been going through a great period of transformation, but we are reaching a very difficult point now. Unfortunately, we send less and less letters, and the few letters we receive are invoices, bills from utilities, banks, etc. So what happened? Those companies, they were forced to transform their business model 100%. To give you an idea, Correos, the post, basically letters, when it comes to letters, we have a very relevant role, yet 65% of our invoicing. So we're still working very hard to see how we can recover that income. The positive part is that we launched parcels due to e-commerce that rose over the last months of pandemic, what we expected in growth for the next 4 or 5 years. So that was also a challenge for us in the day known as Black Friday. We had a great increase. We have been growing. Exponentially, and that means that we were forced to open new centers, new logistics centers. How are we managing to reach the customer? Well, we have a very clear idea because we are a public company, public-owned company, 55,000 employees. And, well, firstly, we are a company. Obviously, we have to be profitable, but then we have a very public side to us, which means that we have to provide a service to the citizens. And that's why the role played by Correos is very important, especially in the rural areas. We have a problem as a society because less and less people live in the countryside. They're going to the cities. We are losing that quality that Spain had, that provided services in the rural areas like the post, etc. It's not profitable to have subsidiary in some given towns, especially in the rural areas, and that's the reason why we have to give every offices, every subsidiaries points where citizens can access all the services like financial services, access to the administration, etc. Then, on the other hand, e-commerce for us is a great opportunity for the post, and that's why we are providing certain solutions. The most logical, obviously, is the logistics, the fulfillment, where gradually more customers are using that possibility. There's a great surge in e-commerce, and that's what we provide in the post, the possibilities of the integrated chain. The client needs to think only about the product, and we sell it, we provide it, we send it to the final destination. Now, regarding innovation, how do we go about innovation in the post? Well, the truth is that in 2014 we made a very important step. We are working on, since then, on physical and digital space where all companies interested can profit from the know-how, and from there projects like Citypack or Scooby, for example, or Movio stemmed from that project. So they are thinking about how to design the shopping cart of the future or the delivery of the product. Is it a van? Is it a motorcycle? Well, 1,500 letters was the normal delivery of a postman. Now it's more about 120 parcels for e-commerce. So now we are delivering and we're thinking about the chariot of the future.
The same situation is taking place in several countries in Latin America because postmen are taking parcels and also small appliances, and they have to interact in a different manner because paperwork has to be done, so the role of postman has changed. And I understand that you are working on the postman experience, as you said. Well, yes, our model has changed due to the pandemic. In the past, clients had to sign on a tablet computer, but now we identify customers and there is no contact between the client and the postman. And therefore, the client doesn't have to touch anything. There are many processes that are changing, especially thanks to new technology and startups. Thanks to all this, we can fulfill our clients' needs more quickly. Thank you very much, Sergio. We have 15 minutes left. I'd like to ask you a few questions to you, and then I'd like to pose some open questions. That's the challenge. Elena, regarding decarbonization, do you have a decarbonization dashboard connected to open innovation? And then what challenges have you encountered in your decarbonization strategy in connection with open innovation? Ever since we started our activity, we had three objectives: digitalization, decarbonization, and internationalization. Regarding decarbonization, we are part of a big group, and the mother company has a business, a regulated business, and we can do things differently. And thanks to open innovation, we can access different opportunities. In order to integrate renewable energies, which are key to decarbonize, we need to see how to manage storage systems. Red Eléctrica does not manage or does not handle batteries except in exceptional circumstances. But there might be batteries in the network in the future. And therefore, we are working through EDOIT with a startup and other corporations, such as, for example, Iberdrola, allow us to have and acquire visibility and learn how those batteries work, gather information, and include all that in our system. Then, the impact of electric mobility. We don't deal with electric mobility, but through ELOIT, we have invested in a company that is developing Hyperloop, and this has a huge impact in terms of this type of mobility. And thanks to this process, we acquire knowledge, we learn, and we improve our processes in order to better fulfill the needs of our clients, because clients want a safe and secure network, but following decarbonization strategies. We are using many tools in order to facilitate collaboration. We have implemented two key tools: Venture Client, that is working with startups and carrying out pilot projects on the very short terms, projects that are implemented in 100 days in order to test technology using KPIs. And then those pilot projects are escalated if they work well. And then we have the case of Celeros. We invest in companies for digital purposes and access new markets and generate knowledge in-house in order to manage better our daily activities. Thank you. That sounds good, Elena. So we have a client-centered approach, including venture capital. Luis, at Pedacit,
el proceso de innovación abierta deja de ser una moda o un fuego artificial y se internaliza como algo que
when do you start to acquire the concept of open innovation? When did you realize that open innovation was in your organization to stay? Since the beginning, we've always believed in open innovation. When we were going through our transformation process, it was a family-based company. We've been working for 85 years now. 1918 was when we started working, and then we have made progress, including open innovation and also other concepts such as sustainability. Many clients would tell us, we only buy products, but we saw that we had to work hand in hand with startups. Therefore, I've held, for example, 5 minutes to approve and endorse a project very often, but now it only takes us 5 minutes to endorse a project and test it with all the executives in the company. It is important to work with entrepreneurs. We need in-house skills and competencies because our own employees can become entrepreneurs and can set up startups in-house in our companies, startups that can be used afterwards to implement projects. That's why we find that open innovation is absolutely key in our processes, especially when we come from a traditional model. Luis, another brief question. What challenge did you encounter as a leader in the process? Please talk to us about 2 or 3 challenges you encountered when you started working in the field. I always think about some important pillars, such as having a strategy, and then culture, or business culture. If you don't work on your business culture, your strategy will not work. Therefore, we work a lot with all our leaders so that they understand the change that we are carrying out. What behaviors have to be changed in order to improve the performance of the company. Thank you, Luis. Nacho or Ignacio. How do you keep the creativity process alive in order to have new ideas Can you talk us about the interaction between entrepreneurs, new ideas? I think that a key aspect of being linked to the customer is a capacity we have recently devised. In the past, we didn't have service designers, and when you link this to innovation and to the strategy of the company, it's magic. Innovation, design, and strategy. First of all, in the case of open innovation, you have to believe in it, first of all, because in the past it used to be difficult to get close to company executives and talk about new ideas. Sometimes startups just don't have the chance to develop their ideas. It is also important to show success stories. The idea is that we have to establish relationships with big partners sometimes, such as Facebook and Google. I'm sure we can do magic between our companies. So you need branding and a good mechanism. We work with Hangar 51. It's a business incubator with venture capital at group level. Iberia is part of the AIG group with British Airways and other companies, and that gives us a lot of strength, a lot of international strength and visibility. And you can solve some of the challenges of big corporations. And then timelines are important. Things have to happen soon, and we have to apply KPIs. In the case of Iberia, I can't be brief, I'm sorry. I'll say everything in just 10 seconds. We have the capacity to think on the short term and on the long term in order to respond to whatever happens right away. Like, for example, doing COVID-19 tests right away. And we also have to develop strategic assets that are going to be key for the company in the coming years. In the case of tourism, there are many developments linked to artificial intelligence, big data. So I think you have to be persuaded about what you do. You have to have a strategy, good designers, and it is also important to be part of a network with important mechanisms and partners such as Hangar 51 or the other partners that my colleagues have in their own companies. Perfect. We have 4 minutes left. Sergio, would you like to tell us about a specific situation in Correos, in the Spanish post office, or can you tell us about the future model of Correos in the future in connection to open innovation? Correos, in the coming future, will be a big company. It is already a big company, especially in the rural world, and it is going to connect citizens, the public administration, and different stakeholders and players in the private sector. I think that a public company can gather all these private players. Correos can play a central role, and as we said before, it is important to provide services to citizens in terms of identification of citizens. We can identify because we are a public service. Open innovation is absolutely key in all our processes now and in the future. And this is the message I wish to convey. Thank you. Great, Sergio. 3 minutes left.
lo que le venga a la mente.
Now, a round of questions, whatever comes into your mind. The future of open innovation, not only in your companies, but at national or regional level. What expectations do you have in terms of open innovation in your countries, in your region, in the future? You can just say a word or a sentence, very briefly. Who would like to speak?
En mi caso, pensando en empresa, que ha sido lo primero que se me ha ocurrido.
Thinking about companies.
No sea necesario que estemos. O sea, que los mecanismos que estamos ahora mismo trabajando desde innovación abierta estén como tan...
Open innovation should be embedded in the company so that working with a startup doesn't involve having specific agreements, that it is just business as usual, that everything is very easy, like a plug and play. Yeah, that was a good one. Thank you. 1 minute left. Anything else? Nacho, would you like to say anything else? Just one word. Collaboration. Together, we do better. Companies, markets, Latin America, Spain. Talent is all over the place, and we have to be together. Thank you. Sergio? You talked about the future of open innovation, and what came to my mind was that this is not about the future, this is about present. If you're not there, you're making a big mistake. Thank you. Luis? Collaboration, working together with a systems approach and considering the environment as well. It's 12 noon in Argentina, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Spain. I really like this panel. I'd love to continue talking to you. We will be in touch through social networks. Thank you for your participation, both face-to-face and virtually. See you soon. Bye.
Gracias.
Thank you very much. Patricio has left. And I would like to thank all the people that are connected via streaming. So we have to respect the time allocated very strictly. So I would like to congratulate you all. Please step down. And now we can continue with our program with the next roundtable. I really love open innovation. I'm specialized in startups, open innovation, and I must tell you, it was difficult to do better than the previous days. We had 51 countries connected on Monday, 54 yesterday. Let's see how many countries are connected today. Third, last day of Madrid platform. We have another panel, another round table, innovation and development in the food chain, in the agriculture and food chain. We are going to talk about agri-tech, agriculture in the future. The figures are incredible. Digital transformation in the food chain towards a more sustainable model.
Responsible use of water, fertilizers, everything is impacting farming, the genetic improvement, IoT, new technologies, everything that is really impressive, like the use of drones to check the chain, the value chain in the land and the farming. I'm really looking forward to listen to all these panelists, please. We have David Chica, General Manager of Merca Madrid, Central Market in Madrid. Javier Fernández Delgado.
A Juan Francisco
Delgado, Vice President of the Foundation Europa. Please come to the rostrum. Representative of Cerealto.
Paula Giser,
Corporate Program Director of Table Adventures. Esteban Campero is moderating, responsible of SMEs of the General Secretary of Iberoamerica. Big round of applause for all of them. Good afternoon. Good morning for those of you who are in Latin America. It's a great pleasure to be here again, moderating this panel after the excellent days of digital transformation in Madrid platform. When they asked me to moderate the panel, I was really looking forward to it, because if there's something that characterizes both the production in Latin America and Spain is the food chain, the farms, food in general. And what better way to celebrate it than doing it from Spain, which is the entry point to Europe from Latin America. And secondly, very enthusiastic about the fact that we are speaking about innovation, new specificities that are probably managed through digital transformation. And then how to do that, how to manage, how to open new strategies, how to open new ways of working and innovate, opening the doors to the laboratories of research and development of many countries, and thinking, obviously, together, not separated in a separated way. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand over the floor to the panelists. I would like to start by Javier Fernández Rosado, and given the fact that we are going to have different viewpoints on the same topic, the viewpoint of companies, organizations, innovation centers that accompany innovation with big marketing structures, such as the central market in Madrid, Merca Madrid. Javier, my first question in this new paradigm of the technical economic shift, how does the perception of the consumer regarding the management of data, how is the perception for the big chains of supermarkets? Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to participate in this panel. Well, very illustrious participants. I can provide my viewpoint from the point of view of distribution. I really do as consultant for companies, big companies in Europe and Latin America, and we advise them on strategies in order to grow. So obviously, there are very many details on that we should see in depth, but the retail world, we could divide it between the online, offline, or single channel or multi-channel. So that's the starting point that probably is in collision with other viewpoints. Maybe we could dwell on that if we listen to other speakers, but we are now living in a world where the online, especially distribution of merchandises, is very relevant, obviously, and the non-food sector is much more penetrated by the online channel, but gradually the food distribution is starting to use and make the most of that online channel. So the starting point, I think, should be In the distribution sector, in my viewpoint, the differentiation is very clear. So on the one hand, you can have many channels, you can be present online, that I think is very fit, or otherwise it's going to be impossible for you if you don't have those many channels. So there's a starting point that allows the small companies to compete with Amazons and the such. If I have something to propose in my value channel, I will be able to provide something, be it offline or online. That's how can we. That's the way we can think on big models in Spain, like a best-in-class, like Mercadona, which is a supermarket that has a variety which is somewhat limited. It's rather standardized. It has an own brand, 60% or over that presence of own brand, a white brand, that you can only find in Mercadona. And it has been there, and it has reached the point because they have really went through different steps, and that's why they managed to reach that point. There are many examples in Latin America, for example, Walmart or Wemex in Mexico, and they managed to create something that was different and provides the consumer what they are looking for. They have a wide variety, they want different prices, and they want differentiation in that array of products, and they want it near, close to the home. So I think that's key. How do we want to reach the consumer? Well, close to the home. Obviously, we want to make their lives easier. We want to provide a different product, which is very special for them. The functions there are very different, but going forward, I don't think there are going to be very many options. If you want to provide a special product, very good price, competitive price, and close to the homes or homes of the consumers, the thing or the wide array of players is narrowed down. If we think in a more traditional shop in a framework of different paradigms, for example, you have to have quality differentiation, different prices, obviously, because we won't be able to offer other than different prices or better prices. We have to differentiate ourselves with service, because that's the key of consumers. They want very good products, but at a low price. So very few are able to provide that. In Spain, the distribution world has focused on the discount world, like Lidl, or very sophisticated centers like Mercadona, which are very much differentiated from the rest. And there are many cases that I can provide us by way of example of success in Latin America. For example, we have a model in Colombia, which is D1, which is a model that works with less than 800 products in a very small shop, 300 square meters, 60-70% is own brand, and from 0% of market share, they reached 50% of market share. What's the secret? A very good own brand. The customers think that the ordenaditos, which is the bread, the favored and preferred bread in Colombia, or the milk, the dairy products are the best. That's what they think. So it's a very high quality product at the best prices. How can you manage that? Well, with the price structure, which is very well thought. What is going to happen in the future? I don't know if, are you going to stop me? Okay, so we have 2 or 3 subjects in mind that we have to keep in mind in Spain and in Latin America, which is, for example, we have Amazon. On the 5 most important countries in Europe, they are already covering the last kilometers. So they're working very well in all countries. and many companies really realize that they have to reach an agreement with Amazon, because there's a whole world of I'm speaking about retail, because we can speak about operations, supply chain, marketing. We could dwell on that later, but they have realized, as I was saying, that that innovation cannot happen unless we're speaking about great volumes. And that's how the relevance of Amazon is going to be seen down the road. I think the last milers, Rapid, Global, and delivery for food are going to be very successful in the future, the last milers, and they can reach your domicile. We have a physical store for Glovo here. It's a natural consequence. The great online players, what they're doing basically is they are going to the multi-channel system like a natural way, a natural path from the purchases in Amazon in the US. I think there is one channel that has understood that perfectly, because there's a set of trends. Not everything is black or white on the online channels, because most of the products are gray, not white or black. So there's a great combination of products. We speak about proximity, local shops, big shops, shops that where you can go there and shop everything, all the products you require in half an hour, walking and picking up. Very interesting. I would listen to your presentation if I ask the following question for new products, new processes in the digital world, and new models of business. So let's keep that for the next round. But I would like to go on with Paula. She has a very good experience working in the companies, for example, in Israel, and you have now recently arrived here in Spain. We have been listening about incubators, accelerators. Those are the items present in the toolkit when it comes to innovation. But I don't know why it was more difficult to implement that in the world of software apps. But the software is starting to be applied as well in the world of food retailer. So how does your accelerator work, food tech? Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. As you said before, I am from Argentina. As you can detect from my accent, I have been working the last 5 years in Israel, where I was in contact with all the food techs. And what do we do in Itabel, my company, my current company? We work in food innovation. How did we start? In Itabel, we thought that startups are the ones that are leading the way to innovation, new products, new services, new business models, as was mentioned before. So we wanted to make those startups grow and make them the businesses of the future, not only emerging and turn them into new companies, but also the corporations turn them into the new businesses of the future. So what do we do in Itabel? We help them, we assist them in that connection between corporations and startups for them to get a very collaborative business but for both parties. And that program called Acceleration that you mentioned before, it's true they are being used currently, and they have been used in all the high-tech world before. That's really a tool of open innovation. It's a way the companies have to innovate. So in summary, it's a program for acceleration. It's like a bridge between external innovation and the corporation on the other hand. So what do those acceleration programs attain? Well, it's a good cooperation between both parties. It's a very agile cooperative or collaboration between two parties. It has an excellent flow, and they can really bring those startups in a very streamlined way into the corporation's needs. And both startups gain, as well as corporations, they gain in structures, networking, access to capital, to equity, and cooperation between startups and corporations don't necessarily have to be regarding funding or capital. So what they do is just boost their innovation inwards, and that's what is important for me. We should highlight that. How corporations, when they work and cooperate with those startups, they have another mindset. How those corporations internally change their culture and they transform themselves into innovative companies that in the future attract more talent that want to work in the corporation. I think that's a key aspect, and I think those acceleration programs should prevail and should be present massively. And from Reitabel, we run our own programs for acceleration, and the last one is called Spain for Tech, the goal being allowing the food tech industry grow, where we cooperate. Our partners are ethics and CNTA, that's a strategic partner. So that's a program we're working on. It's almost finished. I think it's the 2nd of June. It's a demo day. So it's a similar program to other programs that exist in other industries. There's a call for projects that is published. There's a selection of startups, and the evaluating committee decides upon the selected startups and what the industry requires. Then we go straight to the acceleration program, where the goal is to build solid, scalable startups that can be invested on and that are scalable elsewhere, all over the world. And then we have a demo day for the acceleration. There's a pitch, and they really meet their competitors or investors, where the startups can gather equity and grow as company. Nacho Tovar in the previous panel from Iberia said something that I think was very interesting: how to adopt innovation, open innovation as source. So he placed it at the same level as internal innovation, and he took the monopoly away from me, because that's what I was intending to say. So how do you go about the big company, the corporation? What do they look for, the big corporations, when they want to implement an open innovation system? Before speaking about open innovation, let's explain what is innovation. How do we see innovation? We want to use knowledge to create new products, new services, new products, or innovate processes or internal processes in the organization, inside the organization. So what is open innovation? It is innovating in a receptive way, so that everything turns more permeable. What do great corporations look for with this? Well, they want to innovate faster, look for new business opportunities, find them, invest less in R&D. There's another company, for example, there's an external way of investing, and the innovation risk is lower because everything is more cooperative. And what we have to highlight is the corporations, through new technologies, are gradually more innovative. The same way as when they manage their own innovation internally. So there's a competition for ideas. There's no innovation, incremental innovation or disruptive innovation. Let's say that for the food industry, that's a good example. They have their own innovation. They launch KitKat 1, for example, KitKat 2, chocolate tablet they want, or with one flavor, another flavor, new fruit, another fruit. Okay, they have the innovation branch, which is open, which is Snack Futures, where they work with startups that are working not exactly or not precisely in the core business for Mondelez, but they want to be there in the future. So that's why they innovate. They do like small pilots, because they have the capability and the channels that allow us for that. So they work with those emerging companies. They develop them. They invest. They launch like small pilots, and then the great corporation obviously will do a buy-up of that startup at the end.
That was really interesting. At the Ibero-American Secretariat, we've been working on open innovation with 15 Spanish companies. We set up a working group in order to analyze the problems encountered when investing in startups in Latin America. And then we provided advice to governments in order to implement appropriate policies. David, when you visit Madrid, you often go to the Santiago Bernabéu football stadium, you go to see a museum perhaps, and we also go to Mercamadrid, to Madrid's central market. It's very nice to go to Mercamadrid early in the morning when trucks begin to download all the products and everything, and you can see how big this sector is in Spain. What role does digital transformation play here in new scenarios? Good afternoon. Thank you, Madrid Platform, for inviting us to share this roundtable with you. Well, you've given a very good explanation of Mercamadrid. Mercamadrid is a company which has the infrastructure of the biggest food market in Europe. Last year, we transported 3 million tons of food. There are more than 300 companies in Mercamadrid, and more than 9,000 people work there so that clients can go and buy their food. Mercamadrid is an agriculture and food chain which is very professional and very efficient. It's one of the pillars of our country. We've seen that during the pandemic. The whole agriculture and food industry and chain has proved its capacity to continue to do business as usual. In our strategic plan, in our vision, we said we wanted to be a point of reference in terms of facilities and service to clients, and fulfilling as well SDGs. All this combines perfectly with digital transformation. We believe that a way to improve our facilities and to increase our sustainability is digital transformation of our sector. There is a lot of work done, physical work every day, workers loading and unloading trucks, and that's why we had to devise infrastructure for Mercamadrid. We have a 5G network. We are the first one to do that in Spain, and we are deploying a new fiber network in order to have a competitive edge for companies working in Madrid and for the whole food chain, upstream for logistics and production, and downstream for retailers, clients, restaurants, improving mobility. We believe it's important for companies to develop their digital strategy in Mercamadrid and thus make Mercamadrid a point of reference in terms of logistics and distribution. And for that, nowadays we are working on a new project. on a new knowledge and innovation center aimed at promoting skill building so that SMEs working in Madrid and freelancers acquire the relevant tools. So we provide infrastructure and provide spaces for innovation and to provide training so that all companies carry out their own digital transformation in the context of Mercamadrid. Wow, that's impressive. We know that the pandemic had many implications in the food sector, so congratulations for all your good work. We've just talked with Paula about the importance to connect entrepreneurs and startups and big companies. All this could be very useful in the sector. All companies can work anywhere in the world. This sounds beautiful, but it's actually the way to do business. But you have to make things happen. We need to find a competitive edge for companies. Agri-Food Smart as an event. What's your summit about? And what role does it play in the current ecosystems? Well, I would like to start by thanking the organization and congratulating you all, because I think it's time to congratulate because the event has proved to be successful. People are following us via streaming. Around 4,000 people have registered to follow us, which means a huge degree of success. And we have to thank Madrid Platform, the possibility to be here. We are a non-profit organization, and it is great to have had the opportunity to have a platform to do business between Europe and Latin America. I'll try to answer your question. I think that many things have changed. As David said at the beginning, we cannot intervene without thinking about the transformation society is going through right now. Historians, our children and grandchildren, will analyze the changes that have taken place right now. The agriculture and food sector is the basis of our coexistence, and a big change is taking place in our sector, an actual breakthrough. At a time where humanity was supposed to be in the fourth wave of innovation, we were in the big disruption represented by artificial intelligence. So we are going through two crucial times in humanity, in the history of humanity. I won't talk only about my own company and about my own sector. I want to make a contribution going beyond. So I think that the event we celebrate in Málaga, Smart Agri-Food Summit, it's going to be the 4th edition now. And at that event, we have the 5 key players of the food chain. The consumer is in the center of the whole chain, because everything we do is to fulfill the consumer's needs. The industry, which is key for all of us. Growing crops, fisheries. We have great fisheries in Spain. The industry of transformation. Spain is one of the countries that has made more progress in the sector of innovation. Sancho Crom from Israel. This is a big fund investing in agri-food, and he visits us to our event. He attends our event every year. So we went to Almería, down south in Spain, in order to see what was being done there at greenhouses. And now people from Israel have come here and have told us, well, we have made visits to Spain now, and we've made visits before, and you have come to Israel, and you have improved a lot in Spain. Spain is a leading country in the transformation industry. Entrepreneurs play a key role. In our opinion, there are many players doing innovation. Spain was lagging behind, but now we are the third country investing in startups regarding the agriculture and food industry. We are ranking 3 in Europe after the UK. If we consider the UK as a European country, then comes France and then Spain. We are ahead of Germany and Italy. Startups, we have around 1,000 startups in our ecosystem. Then we have universities and research centers, which play a key role because they develop many of the patents that then apply to the industry. Patents come from research centers. And according to Shanghai's index, we have Davis University, and then we have Spanish University, the Madrid's Polytechnical University, Valencia's University, and Cordoba's University are 3 among the best companies in terms of innovation in the agriculture and food sector. And then we have investors. Investors play a key role as well. Wherever there is innovation, wherever a startup is being innovating, wherever we find a startup trying to solve a challenge, we have investors. So we have a pool of investors composed of more than 23 entities investing in different opportunities. So we have 5 key players throughout the whole chain. So farms, growing crops, the sea, fisheries, the transformation industry, and then the delivery part. In all that process, we have many stakeholders represented in our event in Malaga. We celebrate over 20 events by the year, but in Malaga, we celebrate the biggest summit involving all stakeholders. For example, June 10th, we will have an event regarding innovation in the field of wine. On the 17th of June in Mérida, we are going to talk about a very important topic, the green transition in the agriculture and food chain. greendisruptionsummit.com. You can see it on the internet. And all entrepreneurs working in the field will be attending this event. Entrepreneurs promoting the use of green energy in order to reduce water consumption. Do you know how much water is needed in order to have an orange? 50 liters of water, and sometimes we just throw it away without eating it. That means that 70% of the water we use in the world is used by the agriculture industry. Well, I did my homework. I had a very interesting meeting this morning in order to see how to make the best use of talent from Latin America, favoring meetings between entrepreneurs and investors. So thank you very much. Javier, We talked about different channels and business models, some with their own brand, others with many different brands. Which business models will be more powerful or will have a bigger impact in the retail sector, considering the current pandemic and the recovery and digital transformation? I think there are 2 or 3 things to take into account. First of all, that business model based on discounts that can then on the other hand we have the idea of providing high quality products. There are very many different interesting business models which have 2 important features. Proximity. I can have a store close to my home that can be used as a pickup point for different products, or can play different roles, not just to sell products. So the concept of proximity can be applied very widespread. At Mercamadrid, at Madrid's central market, it's difficult to work with fresh products, achieving high volumes of products. So I think it is important to have the best structure with the possibility of offering discounts, diversifying our offer, providing products through different channels. I think our ecosystem should consider this concept of proximity, because whoever brings our food home, for example, is capable of providing more services. It is interesting to analyze the situation of Amazon. Sometimes their approach is quite worrying. 25–30% of people had never bought food online before the pandemic. They had never bought fruit and vegetables on the internet, and now they have, and they'll probably continue doing so. For example, I buy coffee, Nespresso coffee, and then I saw Amazon, and I used Amazon's dash button in order to get my coffee every 15 days or every month. Well, Amazon has a very high volume of products and services in all fields, also in the field of fruit and vegetables.
Can you compete with that kind of company? Yes, but you have to differentiate yourself. That's a trick. Well, Amazon pays me, so my opinion is rather the contrary. I am living and knowing experiences of Spanish startups that are selling in the proximity market. They're not called Amazon, but they're called Consentio, for example. And there are many of them. I'm just giving you an example of a Spanish company. They're doing a great job in the proximity market. They don't have probably the power of, what's its name, this brand that's so popular that they want to put a smile on your face. Well, that one. given the fact that it's really very renowned, it's like a single operator, single player in the market, and the diversity here is paramount. And I don't really agree with some things that my esteemed colleague has just said, with all due respect, obviously. And I personally, many people like myself, want to see in their neighborhood the fruit, the greengrocer, the fishmonger, the butcher. Many people say, okay, they like to see the fishmonger close to their homes. Many times we're very concerned about time and we just click on the internet and buy stuff. But there are many things that are not going to be replaced by the company that sells parcels, nor by Consentio, nor by Kindle. They're not going to replace the... sorry, Tinder, not Kindle. Tinder is not going to replace human relationships. You cannot do virtually what you can do face-to-face, one-to-one. Okay, let me just tell you about our experience, the one we had when we were interrupted in our daily lives and we had to be locked down. Our experience, at least in Madrid, and we witnessed that in Mercamadrid. Those fishmongers, greengrocers, bakeries, they had the possibility in 24 hours from one day to the next one to really provide food to people who couldn't leave their homes, the elderly, the infirm. So there's a mutual trust relationship that is very useful here. You need to know your customer and you need to adapt in a very short time, and that's what SMEs managed to do. I really speak well about companies, but we have to be honest and explain what happened the first week of pandemic with e-commerce and the adaptation capacity of SMEs facing the difficulties of their customers, contrary to what a big channel didn't manage to do. So not everything is white, as we said before, not everything is black. And the non-presential sales is not necessarily e-commerce. The first channel was WhatsApp for fresh products. We have the experience in Latin America, in Brazil, Argentina. We witnessed, for example, the creation of platforms that provided, for example, services like getting your hair cut, getting a haircut, or other kinds of personal services that were included in a platform that worked locally. There's a hybrid possibility there. People want to see the fishmonger. People want to see the hairdresser. And you really have to provide the opportunity to win that race. Javier, I don't want to polemize. I want to really debate some ideas. But I think the great problem with the disruption that we saw, for example, the big snowstorm in Madrid, Filomena, there was a great scarcity of products, and that worked very well with some shops and stores, contrary to what happened during the pandemic. I really do like to go to the fishmonger and grocery store, and I've worked in that sector a great deal. I'm concerned about some industries that have a great volume and generate economies of scale that apply developments in each section of the chain that are very relevant, and in a way I'm concerned by the fact that those people are going to increase their market share, and we are improving the possibilities of scaling up. That's what I'm concerned about. On the other hand, I think that there are other ways to work in small shops, small commerce, proximity shops. Not everything is black or white. I really believe in proximity. What I do think is that big supermarkets are not going to be there in 10 years, or department stores even are going to be the same in 10 years, but the corner shop with certain quality and knowledge of the customer is going to be there. I see those shops, and I'm really proud to see a person who is really taking care of the counter. They know their customers by their name. They have very little shrinkage of the products. So you are not going to find really millions of fishmongers or greengrocers, but I have a big customer in one of the campaigns in Romania, and they can't find butchers, so they want to have a counter with butchers in each one of the shops. That's a problem. So I think that gives you an idea of how the innovation is going. So we have little time left. Very quickly, we have very good examples of products that are very good, that have shifted to internet, like Pescaderías Coruñesas, the Spanish very well-known fishmonger. And look at what those systems are working in the US, in San Francisco. I was there, and it wasn't such a huge growth. So beware, it's not the same packaging or parcels as food products. I don't see Amazon, for example, assembling planes or buses or cars, really. So it's a very different market, and I think it's got a very different market, and I do believe that they have had different results. I agree on the fact that we need a digital transformation, a digital shift, not only with the value chain, but also with artificial intelligence, big data, etc. We don't have too much time left to speak about AI, since you mentioned it. What role does the data analysis play in order to improve production and logistics? It has to be very quick. Yes, it's essential. The bigger the capacity to manage, the bigger the capacity to analyze data, the greater the residue and waste management will be, the charging, loading, downloading, logistics. The better the set of data we have, the better we will manage the chain. So a company that wants to work with startups in the food sector, how do they have to go about improving and accessing talent? Okay, so what happens very often is that corporations and startups sometimes speak different languages. So the first thing they need to do, and we are like the middleman between those corporations and the entrepreneurs, the businessmen or business people. We join those two entities. We sit them together. So what do they do? How do they go about speaking with startups? Well, first of all, they have to speak to them, think their way, see how their mind functions in the mind of business people, and consider what opportunities they have in their business. We have different customers in different parts of the world. Latin America, we work with Alianza team, Sigma. Sigma is a meat company, and now it transformed itself into a protein company. They sell snacks. So what cooperation they have with startups? Well, first of all, speak to them and do something small. Start small, a pilot project to see whether it works or not. And then not only the company, but the startup may also shift into a supplier of the corporation, or the other way around. Curiously, they can enter a new market where there is no corporation, there's no startup, or they're really in a very initial stage, in a growth stage. The corporation can use the startup to enter new markets and also learn. I think that was mentioned in the previous session. Okay, thank you. There were many topics left unsaid, but there will be a next time in Madrid platform. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Esteban. Fuerte
Thank
aplauso
you,
para ellos, por
Esteban.
favor.
Big round of applause for them, please.
Ya sabéis que cada
So
2
now you
horas
know
demorizamos
that
la
every
sala,
2
con lo cual,
hours
por eso
we
intentamos acabar un pelín antes. Le he robado
disinfect
a Esteban,
the
culpa mía,
room.
nada, 4 minutillos.
So we
Y
just
os voy a pedir, por favor,
asked
que desalojéis la
Esteban
sala.
to finish
No os vayáis muy
4
lejos.
minutes
De hecho,
earlier.
no os
So
vayáis. Desalojar la sala, llevamos a cabo
please
las labores de
vacate
desinfección y volvemos a entrar.
the room. To go too far, please.